I just went through my Twitter and I learned that Gab has been punished for what happened at that Pittsburgh synagogue, which was a real tragedy. Unfortunately, Gab should not be blamed for what happened at the synagogue. Gab was not the one who entered the mind and soul of that murderer, Mr. Bowers, and told him to go in there and shoot up everybody in that synagogue. Actually, I believe that it was Laurie McBride who entered the mind and soul of Mr. Bowers and told him to murder those Jews at that conservative synagogue. Let me tell you why I believe that. You know, I find it very interesting that my novel Silver Skies, which was first published through a Pittsburgh publisher, and which I'm working on right now, and which I believe will be a masterpiece on the level of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, that the murder took place at a Pittsburgh synagogue. My novel Silver Skies was first published by a Pittsburgh publisher. My unfinished novel, that's the reason the part that's published is not too good, because I never finished it. I'm finishing it now, and even working on a sequel. And I'm studying Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Did you know that the main character to my Silver Skies, the 1996 version, is a conservative rabbi? Did you know that this synagogue, where that all these shootings took place in Pittsburgh, was a conservative synagogue? Coincidence? I don't think so. Laurie McBride is obviously, you might say, oh, it's you and your men that did the thing. No, my men would never, ever do this. Brent Spiner is Jewish. You may say, you don't have the real Brent Spiner. You have a troll. I have the real Brent Spiner. The troll is the Brent Spiner clone who has stolen the real Brent's Twitter from him. If anybody was behind these murders, it would be the Brent Spiner clone and or his cohort in crime, Laurie McBride. You say, why would they do this? They don't say that on the news. Well, do you believe the news? If you believe the news, you are dumb. Any intelligent people today know that you cannot trust what you hear on the news, especially news sources like CNN, MSNBC, and the liberal news media. The dodo birds, or the brainwashed people, or deliberately evil people, believe what they say. You say, what do you mean by deliberately evil? Deliberately evil because you believe what you want to believe because it promotes your evil lifestyle. You might say, are you saying all liberals are evil? Look at my hair. No, I'm not saying all liberals are evil. Jesus, fix my hair. I'm not saying all liberals are evil, but today, if you're a liberal and you are part of Laurie McBride's conspiracy to take down freedom of speech from those who do not agree with you, you are evil. Because you are not being honest with yourself for the real reasons that you don't want those who don't agree with you to have freedom of speech. You might say, well, it's because I'm upset because Hillary lost. And so anything that happens that makes it so that the liberals and the Democrats can get in control of politics, I'm for. You know what? You need to think very deeply about the repercussions of your position, okay? I'm actually, even though I'm registered as Republican, I'm actually an independent at heart. And I actually liked Barack Obama. In fact, I almost voted for him in the 2012 elections. So, kind of like, tell your emotions to shut up and listen to your brain, people. And listen to your heart if you have a good heart. If you have an evil heart, it won't work. And a lot of you liberals out there have an evil heart right now. You may say, how dare you say that? How dare you say we have an evil heart? Okay, just kind of sit back. Don't you think it's kind of strange that the synagogue shooting happened at a Pittsburgh synagogue, a conservative rabbi, and I'm working on a masterpiece right now, which is probably going to be on par with Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And my main character is a conservative rabbi, and the first publisher that published this book was Pittsburgh. Spielberg's actually made a movie, though I hear the movie's in remake right now, because now that I'm putting an ending to this book, it's going to be, he wants the movie to be fantastic. This is a labor of love for Steven Spielberg, who's a Jew, by the way, who's one of my biggest fans. You may say, oh, that isn't true. You're just a mentally ill, schizophrenic, and you believe all the nonsense your trolls tell you. No. Now, I granted Steven Spielberg may have a Jewish clone operating in Hollywood. In fact, Laurie McBride's made Jewish clones for just about all the good Jews out there to make the real Jews look bad. And I got to say this, President Trump, I want you to help Gab right now, because what's happened, I can't even log into Gab. And what I want you to do, I have some law. I'm going to have a link for it underneath this video. I want you to arrest anybody who's trying to take Gab down. They are a Laurie McBride Jesuit. Gab is not responsible for what happened at Pittsburgh. That Laurie McBride is responsible for it. And we could probably prove it in a court of law. I bet you anything that guy's like a CIA patsy. He probably is under her brain control. Did you know we could prove in a court of law that Laurie McBride and her Jesuits, like that Brent Spiner clone, are guilty of the murder of millions? How come we never hear about it except on Gabriel Chana Fox News 00 on cable and from me? Huh? This is a disgrace. So what Laurie McBride does is she chooses which murders get publicity. Any murders that and because most of the murders she does, or she's behind, I mean, just about that, the Las Vegas shootings, the shootings that happened in Broward County. Did you know those were probably, all of those murderers were probably her brain control victims, or she was indirectly behind it. Yes, just about every man, and the Republican shootout at the baseball game. You want to know what really happened there, folks? You don't want to know what really happened there? That Kathy Griffin, one of her supporters, which was a woman, by the way, they never tell the truth in the real, a woman, went into a baseball game between the House members, between the Republican and Democrat House members. She wanted to shoot all the Republican congressmen, and she murdered Steve Scalise. What you're seeing on television is an automaton. Steve Scalise is in heaven. He died. The news media lies to you, even Fox, which is one of the better ones. He died. Not only did he die, that Kathy Griffin supporter, this woman, murdered every single Democratic congressman in that baseball game. And what you've been seeing on television are automatons of the Democratic congressmen. How come we aren't getting news coverage about those murders? That was more than 11, like what happened at the Jewish synagogue. Every single Democratic congressman got murdered. We've been seeing automatons. And by the way, folks, if you vote Democrat in this election, you're wicked, because you're going to be helping out. You need to vote straight Republican. Laurie McBride has got control of the Democratic Party from top to bottom. If you vote Democrat, especially after listening to my video, you're wicked. You are supporting Laurie McBride, the biggest murderer and terrorist probably in all of world history. She makes Hitler look like an angel. But what's really ironic is she uses projection so that all the crimes she's guilty of, she puts on her enemies, the ones who want to take her down and try to stop her. So I'm just telling you, Gab, she's trying to take down the freedom of speech of those who are exposing her, like me. And Gab should not be attacked. I want President Trump, I want you to enforce my conspiracy law, arrest the people who are trying to take down Gab over this Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, And also arrest the Lori McBride Jesuits who were behind Mr. Bowers. I am certain there's a connection there. He might be a CIA patsy, a victim of brain control. I don't know. I think he should get the death penalty if he was a willing and knowing terrorist. I agree with you on that. He should get the death penalty, but not him alone. You need to find out who was behind him. And I believe there was a conspiracy. Okay? And also I want you to arrest the people that are trying to punish Gab. Gab is not responsible for what this man did. And I can't even log into Gab right now. They've lost one of their providers who makes it possible for them to stay online. And they say they think they're going to be offline for weeks because of what Lori McBride did at the Pittsburgh Synagogue, using her patsy as Mr. Bowers. Okay? I have a link to my law. They need to be fined, and if they're willing, and the people behind Mr. Bowers and the takedown of Gab, if they're willing and knowing Lori McBride Jesuits, they need to get the death penalty. So, regarding all the pipe bombs and all that stuff, Lori McBride's behind that too. We really need to clamp down on her. And she needs to get some exposure. Gabriel Chana, Fox News, I want you to blast. I want you to do a special commentary on, maybe call it the terrorism and of Lori McBride, going from everything to the Las Vegas shooting, the baseball game, Pittsburgh, stuff worldwide. Did you know that about 95% of all terrorist incidents over the past couple years has been the result of Angelina Ballerina or Lori McBride, and it's getting zero honest coverage. Even the Boston bombings that happened in 2013, those were Jesuits. At that time, Zach Knight was evil. He's on our side now. Those were Jesuits. That was Ludmila Putin along with Sarah Avery and the thin privileged fat women, obese women who were behind that. They did it because they were jealous. Jesuits are the biggest murderers on the planet. Okay, we need to get some, Gab needs to get back up. That's not right. That isn't right. What's happening to Gab is not right. Okay? I want you to arrest anybody who's trying to take down Gab right now and trying to blame the murders of Lori McBride on innocent, Alex Jones should be up. I don't agree with everything he says, but he deserves his free speech. Alex Jones should be up. Gab doesn't deserve to be taken down. Lori McBride is appealing to people of low IQ or evil people who are not honest with themselves and who are willing to be her patsies and her cucks to try to take away freedom of speech from those who would expose her and take her down. If the world knows that she's the biggest terrorist probably in all of world history, then, and that's the exposure she's getting from me and people. Alex Jones, I think he knows about Lori McBride. Obviously, he can't go out and talk about her like I do, or because he requires a lot of money to keep up his operations. I operate on a very low budget. So if I get taken down, it won't be the end of the world for me. But anyways, that caravan coming north from Mexico, that's Lori McBride too. Don't let them in. Don't let them in. We've got enough terrorists in this country. They come in here, we're going to have more. Use the military, they go back. If they're Lori McBride Jesuits and they get inside our country, my conspiracy law needs to be enforced. We don't let killers in here. Death penalty. Death penalty to anybody who's a willing and knowing Lori McBride supporter. You say, oh, you can't prove she murdered 1 million people. Like I said, if you're dumb enough to believe everything you hear in the news, you're really dumb, or you're just evil. And vote Republican. Vote Republican. Do not vote Democrat. I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago. The Democrats weren't that bad 5 years ago. They are totally evil now from top to bottom. Hollywood's turned evil. And in fact, most of the productions coming out of Hollywood suck right now. All it is but one propaganda hit piece after another. Lori McBride has ruined great art in the film industry. She's taken over politics in the Democratic Party and corrupted it. She needs to go. And all her supporters need to go.